This task is from our writing and graphing linear inequalities unit. The lesson focuses on two variable inequalities. So we have two comparisons that we're going to have students make with a couple questions, asking them to analyze the graphs, analyze the equation and inequality, and really look at what are similarities, what are differences, and see if they can determine a reason for those differences. Looking at the first comparison, we just want students to analyze the equation and inequality. What do they notice is similar? What is different? Look at the graph and have conversations with their groups and be jotting ideas down on their vertical board so they can keep track of the notes and what they're sharing. We want them to do the same thing with comparison 2. And in comparison 2, they should notice that the dashed line is something new, so that they might hopefully go back to comparison 1 and talk some more, because they might make a connection between the inequality symbol and the solid versus dashed line. We had several groups make that connection. We had some groups not go back and make that connection, but that's why we kind of saved certain questions and conversations for the consolidation piece. During the consolidation piece, we just took a minute or two to have students share out what they noticed for comparison 1 and then what they noticed for comparison 2. And then if there were certain things that we didn't hear, we had some questions and prompts to ask. So common things were that the equation and the inequality are both in slope-intercept form. The two being compared had the same slope and the same y-intercept. They identified that the graphs of the equation and inequality being compared, the lines were in the same location on the same points. And they identified the difference being the shading. And in comparison to, they noticed the dashed line. Now, one thing that some of our groups did not do is once they analyzed comparison 2 and realized there's the dashed line, they didn't necessarily go back to comparison 1 and think about, well, why does comparison 1 have the solid line for the graph of the inequality, but comparison 2 has the dashed? We did have students that were able to make that connection between the inequality symbol and the dashed or solid line and the inequality and where the shading should fall.